Okay. I apologize for that, but pursuant to the open records provision, we have to make this trial available to the public. And so officially, we are now on YouTube. And just for your record, and again, to comply with the open records provision, Mr. Pursuant to the open records provision, we have to make this trial available to the public, and so officially we're now on YouTube. Just for your record, you can't comply with the open records provision. Okay, and we're live now. Mr. Connor has announced ready, and so has Mr. Hicks to cost number 2058701. The state has waived their opening statement. Mr. Hicks, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, since the state has announced that they're going to waive their opening statement, you're still entitled to make an opening statement if you want, but that would be at the end of the state's case in chief, and I'll let you know when that time comes if you want to make an opening statement. So we are ready to proceed. So Mr. Connor, you may call your first witness.
State would call Todd Peckham.
Okay, Mr. Peckham, if you could please raise your right hand, sir, and let me swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Connor, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will you state your name for the record, please?
Todd Peckham.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a peace officer with the city of Lubbock.
And how long have you been so employed?
Approximately 18 and a half years.
Okay. And what is your rank, sir?
Tenant,
And how long have you been a lieutenant?
approximately 9 months.
Okay. Congratulations on that. A little late.
Thank you.
What is your present duty assignment, sir?
I'm a shift commander for the night shift.
Okay. And what was your duty assignment on August 11th, 2020?
The same shift commander for the night shift.
Okay. Did you have occasion on August 11th, 2020 to be in or around the 2400 block of Milwaukee Avenue at around 8:14 p.m.?
Yes.
And what were you doing there?
My fiance at the time lived at the apartment complex at 2600 Milwaukee. I was leaving her apartment.
Okay. And the 2600 block of Milwaukee, I'm sorry, 2400 block of Milwaukee, is that a public street?
Yes, sir, it is.
And which city is that located in?
Lubbock,
In which county?
Lubbock,
In which state?
Texas.
Now, what's the posted speed limit there at the 2400 block of Milwaukee?
50.
Okay. And on that day, did you have occasion to come into contact with a gentleman by the name of Cameron Hicks?
Yes.
And what was that occasion?
The circumstances of how I came into contact with him.
Yes.
I observed two vehicles traveling at a high rate of speed northbound on Milwaukee as I was waiting to exit the driveway at the apartment complex. And I caught up to the two vehicles at 19th and Milwaukee, where they were both stopped at a red light. Initiated a traffic stop. Both vehicles stopped in the CVS parking lot at 1800 Milwaukee.
Okay. And how did you identify Mr. Hicks on that day?
With a Texas driver's license.
And I assume that on Zoom, you're able to see Mr. Hicks. Is that correct?
That
Yes,
is
sir.
correct.
And for the record, is that the same Mr. Hicks that you dealt with on August 11th and that you issued a citation?
Yes,
The
sir.
best I recall, yes, it is. The likeness is the same.
Your Honor, at this time, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant in this cause.
The record will so reflect, and you may proceed.
Okay. Now, when you say that that the two vehicles were apparently racing. Did you write the other individual a citation?
I did.
Okay. And was that also for unsafe speed?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall what kind of vehicle it was that Mr. Hicks was driving?
I believe it was a Mustang.
Okay. Approximately 2019 Ford two-door.
Sounds right.
And what color do you remember?
Maybe dark blue. I think it was a dark color. I'm not 100%.
Now, apparently, do you have your citation in front of you?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. If I told you that you'd put a note on there that said you paced them 70 and a 50, would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that was both of the vehicles?
Yes.
And that was a pace from approximately the 2400 block of Milwaukee to 1900 Milwaukee?
Yes. When I pulled out of the parking lot, I accelerated as I saw them pass. And as the vehicles closed and our speeds became similar, I checked my speedometer and it was right at about 70 miles an hour.
Okay. Were you in a marked patrol unit?
No, it's unmarked.
Unmarked? Okay. You've already testified the speed limit is 50 miles an hour there, correct?
Yes.
Is that, if somebody was doing 70 miles an hour, or if somebody was showing an exhibition of speed, would that be reasonable and prudent at that location?
No.
And what kind of location is the 2400 block of Milwaukee? Residential, commercial, both? What is it?
It's residential.
Okay. And so were you on duty or off duty at this time?
Off duty.
So apparently you decided that it was important enough to take action even though you were off duty, correct?
That's correct.
And it is true that here in Lubbock that we have had some pretty noteworthy issues, maybe 3 fatalities, some tech football players that have gotten in a lot of trouble for this racing, correct?
That is correct.
And had you, within your discretion, if you had determined that it was correct to do so, you would have been totally legal in putting these 2 people in jail for racing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, but instead you chose to issue them a citation and cut them a little slack. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Your Honor, I'll pass the witness at this time.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Hicks, you may question the witness.
Yes, sir. You pulled me, or Officer, what was it? Officer Peckman, correct?
Peckham.
Peckham, sorry, sir. You pulled me over on the CVS on 19th Street. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Prior to me being pulled over and me being accordingly paced at 70 and a 50, prior to passing on to 34th Street in Milwaukee, the other driver did come into my lane, causing me to almost wreck. Stopped at
I'm going to object to this being testimonial and not asking of questions.
Okay, the objection is sustained, and Mr. Hicks, you may ask whatever questions you want, but make sure they're in question form. Okay, thank you, sir. You may proceed.
So you paced me at 70 miles an hour in a 50.
Yes, that's an approximate speed. Yes.
Approximate speed. Okay. I don't know how fast I was going, but I definitely don't think I was going 70 miles an hour. When I checked, oh, sorry, I should ask you a question. So I don't know. Do I have to ask questions, I guess?
Right now, yes, you have to ask questions. It's got to be in a question form. You can't testify right now. You'll get a chance to testify later on. But right now, you can ask this witness any questions, and it's got to be in a question form that's relevant to this case.
Okay. So do I have to ask questions, or can I
No,
go ahead?
if you
Okay.
want to, you can ask 0 questions or as many as you want that are relevant to this case.
Okay, I don't want to ask any questions at this
Okay.
time.
And so you passed the witness, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Connor?
Nothing further, Judge, and we would rest.
Okay, so state rest. Mr. Hicks, at this time, if you want to, you can make a brief opening statement regarding your case. A brief opening statement. It's a brief statement telling me what you think the evidence is going to show on this case. If you want to make it, now's the time to do it. Or you can waive it like the state waived their opening statement. That's entirely up to you, sir. Would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Strictly due to the citation not having my speed and it was in a visual citation. I was not speeding. The person that was also involved in this was doing some enticing stuff, as well as almost running me off the road a couple times, as well as black smoking in front of the officer. And I think he could say that as well. So due to it just being a visual, even on the violation says speed over limit, and it was a visual pullover, no radar, no laser, nothing. That's the reason why I am contesting this ticket at this time.
Okay, thank you. Now, at this time, Mr. Hicks, you may call your first witness. You can even call yourself if you want to. You don't have to testify. Remember that. So would you like to call any witnesses on your behalf?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, just to make sure that we're clear, do you want to testify yourself?
No, sir.
You don't want to testify. You want me to decide the case based on what I've heard so far?
Oh, okay. Yes, I would like to testify then. Sorry, I was confused.
Okay, right. And that's why I'm explaining it to you. Okay?
Yeah.
I want to make sure you understand. If you can please raise your right hand, let me swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Now, at this time, Mr. Hicks, you can go ahead and testify. You do not have to ask yourself a question and then answer it. You can just give me a narrative as to what you want the court to know about your version of the facts. So you may proceed, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. So like I was saying earlier, prior to passing the intersection on 34th in Milwaukee, the other individual that was also involved in this citation beforehand was causing driving issues with me. I was staying in my lane doing the speed limit, and he did cut into my lane a couple times, as well as got in front of me a couple times. I would say there were enticing movements for me to react in a way that could be dangerous to others. Now, when we got up to the light, we were both at a red light. I did accelerate normal speed up to the speed limit. The individual did cut into my lane one more time, and this was right before the officer stopping us. That individual did speed in front of me, or at least I thought he did, because I was not speeding, sped off in front of me, and we ended up meeting at the intersection where the individual that was also involved in this was sitting there and black smoking, which is basically just doing stuff on the street that you shouldn't be doing. And I can go into that if I need to. But specifically, the reason why I did.
And let me stop you there, Mr. Hicks, for a second. Now, remember, the court is not going to assume things that are not in evidence. If you want to explain terms so that it's on the record, you can do it now, sir. So if you want to explain what black smoking is, please go right ahead.
Okay. It's a deal that diesel pickups do that is, I believe, is illegal for one, but it's basically holding on your brake, pressing on the gas, causing your engine to rev up as an enticing move to get me to react in a some sort of fashion.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
you may continue with your testimony.
Yes, sir. So on the citation, it says speed over limit. So basically he, at multiple occasions, made me feel uncomfortable to where truthfully, I might've sped up a little bit. I don't think I was doing 70 miles an hour when I looked down. Strictly going off the violation, just says speed over limit with, no posted speed on the citation that apparently that I was going. I did look into the citation and I guess I was written for unsafe speed, too fast for conditions. I did look into that citation during this day. It was approximately, 77 degrees outside. It was hot, no rain, no loose gravel, nothing. At that time, I did feel like I was going at a safe speed during this occurrence.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add?
No, sir. No, Your Honor.
Okay. And again, before I pass the witness to Mr. Connor for him to cross-examine you, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, Your Honor.
You're in. Okay. Mr. Connor, cross-exam?
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Hicks.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome to history being made.
Right.
What kind of vehicle do you have, sir?
I have a Ford Mustang.
Okay, is it stock? Is it 6-cylinder? What is it?
It's an 8-cylinder.
Okay, is it stock or have you fixed it up? What is it?
Completely stock.
Okay, exhaust, what are regular stock exhaust?
It has active exhaust to where you can make it a little loud and then you can also make it very quiet.
Okay, and on that day, were they loud or quiet? What was it?
It was quiet the whole time.
Okay. Do you find driving a Mustang that people regularly try to entice you into a race?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. You said on this day that what was the other guy driving?
He was driving a 2500 white Dodge Ram pickup truck.
Okay. And then at 34th, where he started trying to entice you into a race, what was your reaction to him at that point?
Sorry, you're cutting out on me. I can barely understand what's being said.
Okay, I apologize. I'll ask you again. When he started messing with you at 34th in Milwaukee, how did you react?
First, I didn't think anything of it. Stayed in my lane. But yeah, I didn't really think anything of it. It happens all the time.
Okay. And you said you may have accelerated and gone a little bit over the speed limit. Is that correct?
I don't necessarily know how fast I was going. When he did cut into my lane prior to us meeting at the intersection at 34th and Milwaukee, I did probably try to make a little bit of distance, but we weren't racing by no means.
Okay. And you said because it was 77 degrees and dry that wasn't unsafe. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you heard the officer testify that it's a residential area and probably 50s even too fast to be going, right?
I was just going off the speed limit that's been posted.
Okay. But it's the officer's testimony that it's unsafe because it's a residential area and all that, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
I guess.
That's all I have, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Hicks, do you have anything else you would like to add, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. And would you like to call another witness?
No, sir.
So defendants rest and Mr. Connor?
We close.
Okay. State closes. And defendant closes. Okay, now we're gonna go to closing arguments. And closing arguments, it's Mr. Hicks, especially for you, it's where you can argue your case as to why you don't think the state has met their burden of proof. This is, and it's got to be based on the evidence that came out at trial now. or any reasonable inferences from that evidence. I usually allot 10 minutes per side. State goes first. I give them up to 8 minutes. And then you go next. You're going to get your full 10 minutes if you want. And then the state can end it or end closing by the rebuttal. And that would be a maximum of 2 minutes. So, Mr. Connor, you may proceed with closing.
Thank you, Judge. What we have today is testimony from a lieutenant from the police department, 18 years experience. Back in August of 2020, 8 o'clock in the evening, reasonable time in the evening, that he saw 2 vehicles pass him, appeared to be in an exhibition of speed, commonly known as racing. You further heard testimony from the officer that we've had some serious issues here in Lubbock with at least 2 or 3 fatalities, with some high-name people being arrested for racing, and it has been a point of emphasis for the Lubbock Police Department. The officer made a stop at further down the street at 19th in Milwaukee and issued citations. You heard the testimony from the officer that that was a great use of discretion, that had he chosen to do so, he would have been completely legal for arresting each of these individuals for exhibition of speed or racing. Could have done it. He did not do it. He issued citations, but the citation is for unsafe speed. Speeding at a speed that is not reasonable and prudent under the circumstances. You're in a residential area. It is already 50 miles an hour. And the officer paced them at 70 miles an hour based just on the unsafe speed without any regard for the racing. We would ask that the court find the defendant guilty as charged in the complaint and the citation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Connor. Mr. Hicks, your turn for closing arguments, and you've got up to 10 minutes. You may proceed, sir.
Yes. Due to the unfortunate event of almost being ran, basically the circumstances that happened, I do not believe that I was street racing at the intent of engaging in a contest for speed with this other vehicle. Like I stated earlier, I might have got a little bit of distance because I did possibly feel unsafe at the time with this individual next to me, and then prior circumstances that happened. I do not believe that I was going 70 miles an hour at all. The main thing is I was not in a contest for speed. I don't think I was that whole time I was on that street. And that's about it.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Hicks?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Connor, then
Just
you
in
can-
summation, Judge, his argument was that he was not in a contested speed, and that's not what we're alleging. We're alleging unsafe speed, and the testimony of the officer was 70 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour zone. The other stuff is irrelevant, but it kind of allows context. But at this point, the officer testified that it was 70 miles an hour and 50, and it was a residential area, completely unsafe and imprudent at that time. So again, we would ask for a guilty verdict.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Hicks and Mr. Connor. On this, the 19th day of January of 2021, the defendant in the above numbered and entitled cause appeared in person and entered a plea of not guilty and waived a jury trial. The court, having heard the evidence and arguments, finds the defendant guilty of the offense of unsafe speed or driving too fast for the conditions. Now, before I assess punishment, I'm going to give both sides an opportunity to make remarks, to tell me what they think an appropriate fine/punishment would be in this case. And so, Mr. Connor, you go first.
We'll defer to the wisdom of the court.
Okay. Mr. Hicks, right now you have an opportunity, like I said, to tell me what you think would be an appropriate punishment or fine for being found guilty of the offense of unsafe speed. So you may proceed, Mr. Hicks.
It is completely up to you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Hicks, how old are you?
I am 23.
23, okay. Okay. Mr. Hicks, having found you guilty of the offense of unsafe speed, you are assessed a fine of $125. It is therefore ordered and adjudged by the court and that the state of Texas, for the use and benefit of the city of Lubbock, Texas, do have and recover from the defendant the amount of $254, being the total of the fine and cost. It is further ordered that if the defendant fails to comply with the orders of this judgment, that the defendant shall be committed to the custody of the chief of police of the city of Lubbock, Texas, until the said sum and cost are fully discharged. And it's further ordered by the court that execution may issue against the property of the defendant for the amount of the fine and court costs. I'm also ordering that if you are eligible, you may opt to do deferred disposition to keep this conviction off of your record. Since you are under the age of 25, one of the conditions of deferred disposition is that you take the driver safety course. So do you have anything to add, Mr. Hicks?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Connor, anything further from you?
Judge, just as an aside, I think in the other court, they've come up with a deal as far as the discovery acknowledgement. And if you can get me one of those, I will fill it out and email it to Mr. Hicks. And that way we will have, between the 2 or 3 of the copies, we'll have a signed copy for you to put in your court file.
Okay, and if not, I'll just send you the old discovery acknowledgement that you can email to him and get everybody signed. So we'll take care of that. Now, Mr. Hicks, let me go over a couple of other things. Number one, this will become a final judgment in 30 days. So let me tell you what your options are, sir. You still have options. Number one is you can appeal this decision. If you want to appeal this decision, you must file a motion for a new trial within 10 days of today. Okay, so that starts the time frame running. So first thing, if you want to appeal, must file a motion for a new trial within 10 days of today. Option number 2 is you can accept the judgment of the court today and make arrangements to pay the fine and court costs. And the arrangements, and there are several ways you can do it. You can pay it lump sum. You can pay it within now. You can pay it within 30 days. You can even do an installment agreement. Okay. So you would have to contact the clerks of this court within the 30 days in order to do that. If you cannot afford to pay the fine and court costs, I will allow you to do community service to pay off the fine and court costs. And for that, you would have to contact the clerks of the Lubbock Municipal Court, again, within 30 days in order to be able to do that. Finally, your third option, it's an option, but I don't think you even need to consider it. But again, it's an option, is you can do nothing at all. If you do nothing at all, which I wouldn't recommend you do,
It won't happen.
then it's going to go into a warrant after 30 days. And I would hate for a warrant to go out for your arrest. So, Mr. Connor, anything further from you?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Hicks, anything further from you?
So earlier when I did pay that $50 fine, or the $50, was that court cost?
That was a bond, I believe, and that will go towards, they'll give you credit for that $50 towards your fine and court costs.
Okay. Do you have the total by chance for me so I can write it down so I can come in and pay?
And the total is $254 is the total fine and court cost. If you paid $50 bond, that $50 will go towards the $254, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Okay? Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then we are adjourned, and congratulations. We've all made history here in municipal court by having the first Zoom non-jury trial. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask Amy to help me. We're going to disconnect now so thank you all so much. And Greg, we're going to be starting on the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, Lieutenant Peckham.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wait a second. You cannot hear it. Okay, stop record, pause. Maybe we'll stop it. No, we'll pause it. Hey, Ronnie, can you look at his YouTube?
Let me get out of the way, excuse me. Do it.
It's live, but how come we can't find it? What is it, non-jury trial? Judge Hernandez.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's called Judge Hernandez. Okay. Are you ready for the next one, sir?
Yes, I am ready. Let's see, we have the parties here. We have
there's-
somebody in the waiting room.
Yes, there's two. There's Caitlin and the other lady.
Okay. And then we are ready. Can you bring them into? Okay, who do we have?
Caitlin and the officer, and we need Miss Bass, Bonnie Bass.
Okay. Let me get Greg in. Anybody else who's available?
We're waiting for the lady.
Here.
Isn't it still live on YouTube? It was still live, right?
Are we still live or?
Yes, you just need to hit record, hover your mouse over her, and just hit that when you get ready to start.
Okay. Let me see who's here. Okay, Greg. How do I get Greg in here? Ask to unmute. Okay, Amy? Amy, how do I get Greg's video?
What in the world?
I think he's having this, oh,
There we
Okay,
go.
there we go. Okay, we got you now, Greg. Okay, Caitlin, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Greg, can you hear me?
Yes, Judge.
And we have a witness, correct?
Yes.
And who's the witness?
Go ahead and identify yourself.
Oh, me?
No,
The
Okay.
officer?
Police officer.
Yeah, Officer Lee Edwards.
Okay, thank you. Officer Edwards, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think we're missing the defendant.
That's the one we're missing, Judge.
Let me make a phone call and I'll let you know here in a minute.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Lee, that's some nice wall decorations you have behind you there, buddy.
Hey, thank you. Got my good drawings from Jimmy Fair. He
There
left
you
some
go.
good ones for me. Thank you. So this is the first attempt at Zoom?
We had one just a minute ago and it worked, and this is the first day, though. This is history.
Awesome. It beats, I guess, getting all dressed up.
There you go.
Yeah.
They actually had a jury trial like this in Austin.
Oh, wow.
They had two of their like capital murder prosecutors try a speeding ticket just to see how it would work. And it
Huh.
took like 8 hours to get the trial done. It was like the technicalities of it were enormous and it was crazy.
Oh my gosh. Sounds horrible. Well, did the jury, did they have to go to the courthouse, I assume?
No, they were doing it just like we are. And that was one of the issues that came up after it whenever they were debriefing it and whatever. It was kind of keeping up with the jury, but it was unique all the way around in that they did it, number one, and number two, that they had like seasoned 25-year prosecutors trying a speeding ticket and it took all day. And it was kind of neat. Neat story.
That's crazy. Oh, man. Whew. So is it just you and me right now?
Nope. Everybody you can see, the judge is on mute, and then we've got Caitlin's listening to us bored to death. And
Caitlin? I don't know Caitlin. Did she work?
she was in the other car in the accident.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I have it right here. There we go. I'll be honest, I was a little shocked on this one.
Why's
Me
that?
too, a little bit. I was like,
Made it
really?
here.
Before you all go into the facts, let me mute all of you.
Oh, I mean, how about those Tech basketball players?
Amy, once I get the hang of this, I really enjoy trying cases. I don't know if you could tell, but I really enjoy it. I enjoy being up here.
Was that your your way of saying that you're not enjoying the Zoom?
No, no, the actual Zoom trial wasn't bad. It was setting it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have to rename your YouTube channel, so.
Okay. well. I just want to make sure that I'm up for a Grammy or an Oscar. So-
Is she coming?
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. They've made numerous contacts from my office. They've made numerous contacts to get a hold of Bonnie Bass. They've been unsuccessful. So we're gonna go ahead and send out a failure to appear, and we'll deal with this some other time because she's not available. Okay. Thank you all so much. Officer and Caitlin, I'm sorry you had to wait so long, but the defendant never responded.
Not a problem.
You-
No offense, but I didn't think she would, honestly.
Well, okay. Well, thank you all so much. You all have a good day, and I appreciate you all.
Thank
Greg,
You as well.
Greg, I guess this afternoon has been settled?
Yes,
So nothing this afternoon?
nothing.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow, Greg.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day, sir.
You too, Caitlin. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, and